The high life. In those early days, I really thought I was living the high life. I would get up about 4:30 in the morning. I would drive through the empty streets of Austin, if you could remember those days. And I'd make my way down to Robert Mueller Airport and park my car, race through the lobby, look for the yellow, red, blue, and silver icon, go to the gate, get my plastic boarding pass, and do an about face, and there it would be. An urn of fresh black coffee and a rack this tall with fluffy fresh donuts. I would fall into that beige naugahyde chair, and I'd go, this is the high life. I've been doing that for several months until one day, you know, I went through the whole drill. I got my boarding pass, got my coffee, got one of those big donuts, and my mouth was half full of donut. When I sat down next to this good old boy, he had on a three-piece, you know, Pierre Cardin suit, and he had on those brightly shined, you know, alligator boots. And I said, isn't this the best? And he went, buddy, that's nothing. A few months ago, they were giving away a fifth of whiskey when you took this flight. I just got to Texas too late. But even immigrants to Texas like myself, and all of you natives know that Southwest is the airlines that love Bill. Is that true? Yes. Can you say amen to that? Amen. Well, let me tell you something else. The people in this room know that Southwest is the airlines that Herb Kelleher's love Bill. As tenacious as Winston Churchill, as creative as Steve Jobs, as loyal and faithful as Lee Iacocca, he surpassed them all in the way that he loved everyone that ended up in his path. The true mark of a man. I was reading the Wall Street Journal on Saturday. I always go to the obituaries first, and that's the one day they run them. And there he was. And I was stunned. And that, you know, that bottom line newspaper, it said, because he loved his people so much and built such a culture amongst the employees, the Southwest turned a profit for 45 straight years. Imagine if every company thought that. That's because Herb lived the high life. He lived the high life. He knew how to love, and he knew how to give love away. And no one knew that better than his family, who were really recipients of his deepest love. I was stunned to hear that just a few days ago he was sitting around the Christmas tree down here with his family because that's where he needed to be, even though he was failing rapidly with COPD. And then just weeks before that, he insisted on sitting around the table at Thanksgiving with his family. His family physician, when Herb died on January 2nd, he made this one comment. He said, well, as usual, Herb had his timing down perfectly. He was going to be with his family first. He's going to give away his love to them. And then it was time to go be with his Lord. That's what you call living the high life. That's the high life. And those of you who knew him well, his colleagues, his family, knew that there's nothing Herb Kelleher liked doing more than conversing. Give him a glass of wild turkey, a fresh package of cigarettes, and a place to roost, and he was off to the races. His son-in-law was telling me that at one point he came and he said, it's 9:30 at night. Now, I'm already in bed at that time. And but at 9:30, John dared to ask him, hey, you know, how does Southwest decide which cities it's going to serve? How does Southwest Airlines decide which cities it's going to serve? And with that, armed with, you know, provisions, Herb was at the starting gates. And for 7.5 hours, John received the equivalent of a business degree from Harvard. As the rosy-fingered dawn began to began to show up on the horizon at 5 a.m., John finally said, "But Herb, you have not answered my question. How does Southwest Airlines determine which cities it's going to serve?" With that, Herb took a long draw off his wild turkey, an exaggerated drag on a cigarette, leaned back and said, "Well, that's a secret." But the real secret is that Herb did not like giving lectures, nor did he like giving advice. He liked telling stories and giving illustrations. And in that, he's a lot like our Lord. Did you hear what was read by one of the grandchildren just a moment ago? Jesus, rather than trying to speak to the dull-witted disciples directly, he says, "I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd gives up his life for the sheep, because I know my own and my own know me." Now, the disciples will not have the foggiest idea what Jesus is talking about until Jesus makes that long walk up the hill to Calvary. And when he's lifted high upon the cross, they'll begin to understand what Jesus was talking about. They'll begin to understand for themselves that in Jesus we see that God holds nothing back, that he loves us so completely and so wonderfully that there's nothing to keep him from embracing us. Nothing. Did you catch what was said in the last phrase? Because he knows his own and his own know me. Well, that sounds comforting at first, except when you realize that there's some dark, dusty, unattended, musty corners in my life that I think I've kept hidden. But they're not hidden from the Lord, are they? Neither are yours, by the way. But even though he knows us, he loves us. And he loves us more than we can even imagine. He loves us in such a way that we finally come to life. Now, I can promise you this, that if we concede to his embrace, not only will we be freed, but we'll be freed to be creative and playful again. Yeah, did you know that? The great thing about the Lord getting a hold of you and me is, it's not that we can run around and say we're saved and kind of drive people crazy, but that suddenly we're freed to be the person we were created to be in the first place. And we can let loose, and we can give back, and we can laugh and play and sing again. Now, Herb would be horrified that I was comparing him to Jesus. I was just at his graveside. Of course, he's at the highest point of the state cemetery, by the way. No one should be surprised by that. But I'm afraid he'll come right up out of the ground if I continue to compare him to Jesus. But I can tell you, there's a lot to be said for that. Because you see, the way Herb loved, it set people free. And they could be playful, and they could be themselves. I read in one of the accounts about him that he didn't prescribe to people to do the goofy things that happen on Southwest Airlines. He said, just be yourself. Just be yourself. Serendipitously, I experienced that just this weekend. A Presbyterian church, asked me to come speak at a state far away. Obviously, they did not know me. And I caught one of those early flights out of San Antonio. And Gary, I like you and all, but there were no donuts. I mean, surely there could be some revenue sharing here somewhere. I mean, But anyway, I got on the flight, and there was one, and during the long leg of this flight, where you're just kind of going crazy sitting there, and you're embarrassed to get up for the third time to go to the restroom, and everyone knows then that you're 64. But I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden the male flight attendant comes on. He goes, "Hello, everybody. Today marks Bob's 30th birthday 20 years ago." He said, "Over the last 2 hours," this is right in the middle of the flight. You got to love this, you know. "Over the last 2 hours, Bob and I have gotten really close. We've talked to one another. We've shared. We've hugged." Well, that was Bob's idea. And of course, by this time, the plane is just erupting in laughter. And I thought, in something that could be tense and kind of yucky, because of the freedom and the love that Herb gave, it could be fun. On the way back in the dead of night, that 737 came out of the air and hit that tarmac at San Antonio and took a big bounce. I'm not telling you, the pilot was. And the female flight attendant said, "Thank you, Captain Schwartz, for 2 good landings." You think you're going to get that on Delta? No, I don't think, you know. And finally, an evangelist from Indonesia wrote me yesterday on email. And he said, Pat, are you going to give out peanuts in every pew at the burial?" But that is the world. That's the world that Herb built. And if you like the feel of that, if you like the freedom, if you like the playfulness and the childlikeness of it, I'm telling you, that is what Christ gives. Forget all this stuff that makes you think that Christians are uptight and out of touch. No, we're in touch. We just want to live. And that's what the Lord gives. That's what he gives. You know, I was digging for some management ideas. I mean, Herb was in charge of, you know, thousands, and I'm, you know, have 20 folks, but I want to always do better. So I was digging for information. I said, just tell me the values. What were the values that Herb insisted upon, that he insisted upon for Southwest? And I was told, well, only the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's living the high life. Because Herb knew how to love, he knew how to live, and he knew how to give all that away. Southwest really is the airline that love built.